I stood in the center of Boston University's Aghanis Arena, black graduation gown catching the late afternoon light filtering through the high windows. The air smelled of fresh programs and expensive perfume. Around me, 2,000 graduates shifted in their seats, fidgeting with tassels and phones. My name echoed through the speakers, Claire Maddie Bennett, Master of Business Administration, magna cum laude. I walked toward the stage, heels clicking against polished floors, and for a brief second I thought maybe this time they'd see me. My parents sat in the third row, my father's arms crossed, my mother scrolling through her phone, and right beside them, my sister Victoria, 32 years old, draped in a cream Chanel suit, her husband Derek whispering something that made her laugh. As I reached for my diploma, Victoria's voice cut through the applause, loud enough for the surrounding rows to hear. Finally joining the real world. Huh, Claire? Took you long enough. Laughter rippled through the guests. My mother smiled, nodding as if Victoria had said something clever. My father chuckled softly. I held the diploma, the embossed seal pressing into my palm, and forced my lips into a smile for the photographer. The flash went off. When I returned to my seat, my phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Meet us outside. We have a little something for you. After the ceremony, I found them near the north entrance. Victoria was taking a selfie, angling her phone to capture the arena in the background. My father handed me a small gift bag, the kind you pick up at a drugstore. Inside was a Target gift card. $25. For groceries or whatever you need, he said, patting my shoulder. You've been so independent, we figured you'd appreciate the flexibility. Victoria glanced up from her phone. I just posted about Amalfi. You should see the engagement. She turned the screen toward me. Endless blue coastline, white villa, champagne in crystal glasses. Then I saw him, a man in a gray suit standing near the far column, holding a leather folder. He was older, maybe 60, with silver hair and wire-rimmed glasses. When our eyes met, he walked toward me with the deliberate calm of someone carrying important news. Miss Claire Bennett? He asked. Yes. He handed me a thick cream envelope, sealed with dark blue wax. From the estate of Eleanor Bennett, to be opened privately. My grandmother's name hit me like cold water. She'd been gone for 3 years. Who are you? I managed. Arthur Hammond. I was Mrs. Bennett's attorney. She left specific instructions. My father stepped closer. What instructions? Hammond's expression didn't change. That's between Miss Bennett and the estate. Good evening. He turned and disappeared into the crowd before anyone could follow. Victoria laughed. Probably some old jewelry. Grandma always had a flair for drama. They thought my degree was the biggest surprise that day. They had no idea what the lawyer was holding. If you've ever been the invisible child in a golden family, this one's for you. Growing up, I learned early that love in the Bennett household came with conditions I could never meet. Victoria was 4 years older, and from the moment I understood what jealousy felt like, I understood I'd never escape my parents' devotion to her. When I was 6 and she was 10, we both wanted piano lessons. My mother signed Victoria up immediately, drove her to a studio in Brooklyn every Thursday. When I asked if I could go too, my mother said, "Sweetheart, Victoria's the musical one. You're more practical." I got 3 paperbacks from a yard sale. Victoria got a baby grand piano 2 Christmases later. High school, the pattern was unmistakable. Victoria got a red Audi convertible for her 16th birthday. I got her old bike, spray-painted teal. When she forgot to study for a chemistry test, my father called the school and complained about the teacher. When I got a B in calculus, my mother sighed and said, "You'll just have to work harder." I worked 2 jobs, starting at 14. Starbucks in the morning before school, tutoring kids in math on weekends. I saved everything, telling myself that self-reliance was something to be proud of. The only person who ever treated us equally was my grandmother, Eleanor Bennett. She was my father's mother, a sharp-eyed woman who'd built a real estate empire in the 70s, and never apologized for her success. She wore wool blazers and drank black coffee, and when she looked at you, she actually saw you. Every Sunday, she'd take both of us to lunch at the same Italian place in the North End. She'd ask about school, about friends, about what we were reading. She never compared us. When I told her I wanted to study business, she smiled. Good, someone in this family should understand how money actually works. Victoria was accepted to Harvard at 8, full tuition paid by our parents, plus a monthly allowance. I was accepted to Boston University at the same time. My father shook my hand. Congratulations, you'll need to apply for loans, but I'm sure you'll manage. I managed. I took out $73,000 in student loans. I worked nights at the campus library, shelving books until midnight, cleaning tables in the early morning silence. My hands cracked from chemicals. My eyes burned from studying under fluorescent lights that buzzed like trapped flies. Then, 3 years ago, Grandma Eleanor died. It was fast, a stroke in her sleep. No suffering. The funeral was crowded, full of business associates and old friends. Afterward, we gathered at her attorney's office for the reading of the will. I remember the smell of old leather and paper, the way sunlight slanted through the blinds. Victoria received a trust fund, $2 million, accessible at age 20. My parents inherited her jewelry and some stock portfolios. I wasn't mentioned. At least, not that day. My mother reached over and squeezed my hand. I'm sorry, honey. Maybe she forgot. I nodded, throat tight, and didn't cry until I got home. I thought my grandmother had forgotten me. I should have known Eleanor Bennett never forgot anything. The graduation ceremony ended just after 5. I didn't stay for photos or the reception. I walked straight to the parking garage, the cream envelope tucked under my arm. I drove back to my apartment in Cambridge, a small studio above a dry cleaner on Mass Avenue. The place always smelled faintly of starch and lavender. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the envelope. The wax seal glinted under the overhead light. I broke it carefully. Inside were 3 things: a handwritten letter on thick ivory paper, a set of legal documents, and a small brass key. I unfolded the letter first. The handwriting was unmistakably my grandmother's. My dearest Claire, if you're reading this, you've just finished your education. I'm so proud of you. I know how they treated you. I saw it every Sunday, every Christmas, every birthday. I watched your parents pour everything into Victoria while you learned to survive on scraps. And I waited. Victoria received her inheritance at $25 million. You didn't know that, did you? Your parents made sure of it. But you should feel something, Claire. You should feel furious. And then you should feel powerful. I'm leaving you my real estate portfolio. 6 commercial properties in Boston, currently valued at $80 million. I'm also leaving you controlling shares in Bennett Properties LLC, the company I built from nothing. You are now the majority shareholder and CEO. You could only inherit after completing your higher education independently, without financial help from your parents. I needed to know you could stand on your own. The board doesn't know yet. Your parents don't know. Victoria certainly doesn't. You were always the one who understood the value of what you built yourself. Now build an empire. I love you. I always saw you, Grandma Eleanor. The letter slipped from my hands. I read it again, then a 3rd time. I reached for the legal documents, flipping through page after page of property deeds, stock certificates, transfer agreements. Everything was notarized, dated 3 months before she died. The brass key had a small tag. Seaport Place. Unit 12A. I looked it up. Luxury condos overlooking the harbor. A penthouse. My phone buzzed. A text from Victoria. Did you open Grandma's mystery envelope? Let me guess. Some old brooch. I didn't reply. I sat on the bed until the sun set. Until the streetlights blinked on outside. For the first time in my life, I wasn't tired. I was awake. The next morning, I called Arthur Hammond. His secretary scheduled me for 10 at his office in Back Bay, a sleek building with marble floors and the kind of quiet that only exists in expensive places. Hammond met me in a conference room on the 8th floor. Floor 2's iling windows overlooked the public garden. He gestured to a chair. Miss Bennett, I'm glad you came. I sat, placing the envelope on the table. I need you to explain this. All of it. He opened a leather portfolio. Your grandmother restructured her will 8 years ago. She wanted Victoria to receive her inheritance early, knowing your parents would encourage her to spend it, and she wanted you to receive yours only after proving you didn't need it. Why? He smiled faintly. Because Eleanor didn't believe in giving power to people who hadn't earned it. You worked 3 jobs to pay for school. Victoria spent her trust fund on cars and vacations. Your grandmother was testing you both. I stared at the documents. My parents tried to contest the will, didn't they? Hammond nodded. 3 years ago, right after her death, they claimed she wasn't of sound mind. The court disagreed. The will is ironclad. Do they know about me? No. Per Eleanor's instructions. The disclosure was delayed until you completed your education. As of yesterday, you are the legal owner of Bennett Properties and all associated assets. He slid a folder toward me. This is everything. Property valuations, tenant agreements, financial statements. The company is profitable. I opened the folder. 6 properties, an office building in downtown Crossing, 2 retail spaces in Cambridge, a mixed-use complex in Jamaica Plain, a historic brownstone in Beacon Hill, and a waterfront space in the seaport. Annual revenue, $4.2 million. Net profit, $2.4 million. My hands shook. I don't know how to run a company. You have a board. You have a CFO, a property manager, an accountant. They've been waiting for you. Eleanor told them years ago that you'd take over. Hammond pulled out a USB drive. She also left you video messages. Recorded 6 months before she died. I took the drive. What did she say? I haven't watched them. She said they were for you alone. That night, I plugged in the drive. 3 files appeared. I clicked the first one. My grandmother's face filled the screen, sitting in her home office. Hello, Claire. Claire, if you're watching this, it means you've graduated. I want to explain why I did this. Your parents loved Victoria more. I watched them choose her over you 1,000 times. I couldn't stop it. But I could do this. I gave Victoria money because that's all she'll ever understand. I gave you a foundation because that's what you've always built for yourself. The company is yours. Your parents have no claim, no access, no control. When they find out, they'll try to guilt you. But they never shared with all of you, did they? I knew you'd be stronger than all of them. Build something beautiful. The video ended. I closed the laptop and cried for the first time since her funeral. Not from sadness, from relief. The plan came to me over the next 3 days. I wasn't interested in revenge. I was interested in clarity. I texted the family group chat. Dinner, Friday night, 7. Mama Maria in the North End. My treat. Let's celebrate properly. My mother replied first. How sweet. We'll be there. Friday came. I wore a simple black dress, small gold earrings, my grandmother's watch. I arrived early, securing a corner table. Arthur Hammond arrived 10 minutes later. I'd asked him to join me, introducing him as a colleague from a consulting project. My family arrived together, loud and confident. Victoria wore head tuto guti. Derek trailed behind in a navy blazer. My parents looked relaxed, my mother in pearls. Oui? Order it. Victoria dominated the conversation, talking about a charity gala, a trip to Nap, the new Porsche Derek had surprised her with. My parents listened, rapt. Finally, my father turned to me. So, Claire, have you landed a job yet? Victoria smirked. Probably something entry-level. MBA doesn't mean much without connections. I set my glass down. Actually, I wanted to share something. I pulled out a leather folder, placing it in the center of the table. Grandma Eleanor left me her real estate portfolio. 6 commercial properties in Boston, currently valued at $80 million. Silence. Complete silence. Victoria's fork clattered. My father blinked. My mother's hand froze. That's impossible. My father sighed. The estate was divided 3 years ago. Arthur Hammond leaned forward. No, sir. Mrs. Bennett restructured her will 8 years ago. Victoria received her inheritance at 25. Miss Clare's was contingent on completing her education independently. My mother's face flushed. We would have been notified. You were, Hammond said calmly. You tried to contest it. The court upheld the will. Victoria's voice cracked. This is insane. You don't know anything about running a business. I met her eyes. Grandma thought I did. She also left me controlling shares of Bennett Properties. I'm the new CEO. I take over Monday. Derek laughed nervously. You're kidding. Hammond slid business cards across the table. Bennett Properties. Clareman Bennett, Chief Executive Officer. My father leaned back, pale. Family money should stay in the family. No, I said quietly. Grandma structured it as a blind trust. You have no access, no control. It's mine. I stood, placing $200 in cash on the table. Dinners, on me. First time I can afford it without loans. Victoria grabbed my wrist. You can't just walk away. I pulled free gently. I already have. I left the restaurant. The night air was cool. Behind me, I heard raised voices. I didn't look back. The weekend exploded. My phone lit up with messages. My mother, we need to talk. You're making a mistake. My father, call me immediately. Victoria, you've always been jealous. Now you're stealing what's ours. I blocked all 3 numbers. I changed my lock. I slept for 14 hours. On Monday, I walked into the Bennett Properties office in downtown Crossing. The building was restored brick and tall windows. The receptionist smiled. Miss Bennett? They're waiting upstairs. I took the elevator. Inside the conference room sat 5 people. Margaret Cho, the CFO, David Santos, the property manager, Priya Mehta, the accountant, and Donna Trello, interim CEO. Margaret stood first. Claire, we've been expecting you. Your grandmother spoke about you often. She did. Constantly. She said you'd take over when you were ready. We spent 4 hours reviewing financials, tenant agreements, projects. I asked questions. They answered patiently. By noon, I'd signed the transfer documents. By 2, I'd sent my first email as CEO. At 3, I visited the Seaport penthouse. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the harbor. The space was empty, light pouring in. I stood in the center and cried, not from sadness, from relief. That night, I received an email from Victoria's lawyer. A formal request for mediation, claiming I'd manipulated my grandmother. Arthur Hammond replied within an hour, attaching the court ruling in Eleanor's psychological evaluation. The lawyer didn't respond again. 2 weeks later, I learned why. Victoria had taken out a loan using her future inheritance as Coyette et al. Now, with no money coming, the loan was in default. Her Porsche was repossessed. Derek filed for separation. I didn't gloat. I just kept working. 3 months passed. I didn't hear from my family. I focused on the business, learning every aspect. Margaret became my mentor. The company grew. We acquired a 7th property. Profits increased 18%. I moved into the Seaport penthouse. I hung my MBA diploma in the hallway. I framed a photo of my grandmother in the living room. At night, I'd stand by the windows, watching boats glide across the harbor. For the first time, I felt like I belonged to myself. Then, one Friday, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. Claren Victoria. Her voice sounded small. Can we talk? We met at a cafe. In Cambridge. Victoria looked different. Less police, and her hair pulled back simply. I've been thinking, she said. About Grandma. About you. About how I treated you. I waited. I always had everything, and I thought that meant I deserved it. But you weren't fine. You were surviving. Her eyes filled. I'm jealous of you. I always have been. I needed people, I said quietly. I just learned not to expect them. She nodded. Grandma saw that. We sat in silence. Finally, Victoria spoke. I'm not asking for money. I just wanted you to know I see it now. I studied her. I appreciate that. But I can't go back. I know. She stood. I'm glad you got what you deserved, Claire. She left. I watched her walk down the street and felt something loosen in my chest. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But maybe someday. A year later, I stood in a university auditorium, at Booth. I'd been invited to speak at the scholarship ceremony for first-generation students, a program I'd funded, the Eleanor Bennett Memorial Scholarship. 10 students, full tuition. I stepped to the podium. My grandmother didn't give me money, I began. She gave me proof that I was always enough. I told them about the loans, the years I thought I was invisible. She didn't leave me an empire because I was her favorite. She left it because I built my own foundation first. The students clapped. Near the back, I saw 2 people. My parents. They waited until the crowd cleared, then approached. Claire, my father said, we wanted to see this. What you've built. I nodded. My mother's voice cracked. We were wrong. We see that now. I appreciate that, I said, but I'm not waiting for your approval anymore. They turned to leave. My mother paused. She'd be proud of you. I know, I said. That night, I returned to the penthouse. I opened the windows, letting in the salt air. I poured wine and sat on the floor, looking out at the lights. My phone buzzed. Victoria saw the scholarship announcement. She would have loved that. I typed back. I know. For years, I thought being invisible meant I didn't matter. Turns out, it meant I was being saved for something they'd never understand. Grandma knew. She always knew. If you've ever been the forgotten one, tell me your story below. Sometimes the quiet ones change everything.